Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Mariela Salinas, and I'm a marketing specialist here at Educate 360. Welcome to today's webinar, IIBA Certification Chat Q&A session presented by our fantastic instructor, Dr. Susan Heidorn. We'll be having this session in Zoom today, so you will be receiving a recording after the webinar if you aren't able to attend the full session. Educate 360 is so excited to present this webinar today. I will now hand it over to you, Susan.
Well, thank you so very much, and Happy New Year, everyone. Hopefully everybody had a great holiday season. I can't believe it's 2024 already. And I love having all you here. So you must be excited about moving to getting a IIBA certification this year. So maybe that was on your New Year's resolution to get that certification. So we're going to take a little journey. We're going to talk about different certifications that we have, and of course the eligibility criteria, a little bit about the exam, give you a few tips here and there as we move forward. So just a few announcements. Our next Q&A session, if you know anybody who's interested, will be March 1st. We do offer a lot of these certifications, and you can either get them in person, online, or virtual, depending on what you're looking for. So we give you lots of options there. And just a little bonus and incentive. Everybody likes saving money. So if you take a certification class with us, we will give you 30% off the cost of your certification exam and your application fees, and you get a 1-year membership to IIBA, the International Institute of Business Analysis. So if you are contemplating on taking a class with us, and we'd love to have you, be sure to check that bundle off. And if you don't have any information, normally it's when you sign up for a class, it will list that, and you're going like, well, what's that? I don't want to spend more money. But it does give you 30% off the exam fees, the application fee, and a free membership. So it's really, really a nice deal. I'll encourage you to all to take advantage of that. A little bit about IIBA. They don't have anything going exciting yet. Usually they have some announcements, and I put them in here. But if you are looking for a business analyst job, they do also have a job center. And so check that out. And if you are really interested in business analysis and you would like to fly to Orlando or are in the Orlando area, they will be having their annual conference. It's called BBC, Building Business Capability. It's April 15th through the 19th. And so I will be speaking there. We'll also have a booth there. So if you're there, stop in and see us. We'd love to have a chat with you. And so if you're looking for palm trees if anybody's stuck in the snowbank like I am in Minnesota, it's kind of fun to look forward to something with palm trees and warm weather. So upcoming certification prep classes. We have the CBAP and CCBA. These are the dates. These are virtual online. Most of our classes are online. If you want to bring them to your company, you certainly can give us a call and we can do that too. ECBA, obviously CBAP's coming up in January as well as ECBA. And we have a CBDA, which is the Business Data Analytics certification. And the next one is February 26th, 27th, coming kind of soon. And then we have all of these on video demand, including the Agile certification. So if you're interested in that, it's a good way to get that information. Before I start, I'm going to have Mariella do a poll. Well, how do we register for the conference? I will actually put that in the chat just before we leave. So look out for that. Otherwise, you can go to BBC Conference. Let me just put that in, BBC Conference. And then it'll give you the link, and you should be able to sign in and register there. So very fun. Love to see you there. So Mariella, did you do the poll?
here, let me go ahead and launch it so you guys can go ahead and click on whatever you guys are
So
interested
this poll is just a quick, what IIBA certifications are you interested in? And that kind of helps me gauge which ones I need to cover in a little bit more detail. So please just quickly fill that out. And you can have multiple choice. So maybe you're thinking about CCBA, but maybe CBAP. Go ahead and check both. So we'll give you a little bit of time to do that.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and give them about 10 more seconds to get those last votes in. Then I'll go ahead and end the poll. Ready. Last chance and goodbye. Here are the results. I don't know if you can
Ah,
see them.
wow, it's very exciting to see a lot of you are interested in the data analytics, the AAC. Wow. I usually don't have that variety, so very exciting.
Awesome. Alrighty.
Oh,
Thanks so
great.
much,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you very much. All right, so we're going to start with the core certifications of CBAP, CCBA, and ECBA, and then we'll move to the specialty certifications, which is the one in data analytics and the Agile one. So for those of you who are looking at the specialty ones, hang on, we will get there. We're just going to do the core ones first. So the core ones is on basic business analysis, and they have 3 levels of certification you're probably familiar with. The first level that came out is CBAP. That's for people who have 7,500 hours in the past 10 years. Sometimes I don't remember what I did yesterday, let alone 10 years ago. So you do have to have it documented. You need 900 hours in one of the 4 knowledge areas, and 35 professional development hours. What does that mean? You have to sit in a business analyst class. It has to be around business analysis, can't be just anything. And it has to be aligned to the BA, the business analysis body of knowledge. Our classes give you those hours. So the nice thing is that if you take any one of our classes, you already get those hours. Otherwise, you will have to find another venue in order to get that class. And it does have to be a facilitated class, just to note that you can't be that you just read the business analysis body of knowledge. Yeah, it really has to be a facilitated class by an instructor where you can interact and ask questions. You will need 2 references. We'll talk about that in a little bit. You do have to sign a code of conduct that you're going to be a good business analyst. And you can see the application fees. So CBAP and CCBA both have an application fee. The other specialty and ECBA do not have an application fee, but you can, and then they have a different fee structure. If you're not an IIBA member, it costs you $505, or at least CBAP does. And if you're an IIBA member, the first number is for IIBA members. But remember, if you take our 30% off discount, that's 30% off of that cost. And so it behooves you oftentimes to get the bundle, because then you also get a free membership. And then if you get a free membership, it's even discounted even more, so less cost to you. CCBA is kind of that intermittent, in between, let's say in between. Business analysts with 2 to 3 years of practical BA experience. You do not have to get all of these. I always get questions. Well, do I have to go to ECBA and then CCBA and CBAP? Nope, nope, nope. Go for the one that you want, and the one that you have the most experience. So if you have 7,500 hours and you've been in business analyst for a long time, go for the CBAP. And sometimes I tell people if they have CCB and they go, well, I think I might have enough hours. Chances are you probably do, because a lot of things that we don't consider business analysis is actually business analysis. So take a look at the BA BOC and you might find that you have more hours than you thought you did. So and the eligibility in each knowledge area is a little bit different. You get 21 hours. We have combined our CBAP to CCBA class together because they're very similar, except for the way the test questions are written. So you automatically get 35 for CCBA too. ECBA is a little bit different, and that was only introduced in 2016. This is where people just interested in business analysis. Maybe they manage business analysts. I know I've had a number of managers saying, well, I manage a group, but I don't know what they do. So I'm here to find out. So, or maybe you're a new graduate, just got out of college. It can be for anyone that just wants to know more about business analysis, have the terminology down, and kind of figuring out what's going on. The nice thing is it doesn't have an application fee, and it's a lot cheaper. So I said that their exams are different, but they are all based on the business analysis body of knowledge guidebook, if you will. So CBAP, well, let me start with ECB. I'm going to go backwards on this because I think it's a little bit easier to talk about. ECBA is called a competency-based exam. It's knowledge-based, basically. Do you know the terms? Techniques, they'll ask you questions around techniques. Multiple choice questions. There's only 50, which is kind of nice, and it's only an hour-long exam. So it's basically saying, do you know the definition of a business analyst? Do you know what technique you might want to use in this situation? So it's not too difficult. It's only an hour, only has 50 questions. CCBA adds a level of complexity. CCBA is scenario based. So they'll give you a little 2 to 4 liner situations and they'll say, you are a business analyst and this is a situation. What would you do? Or what would you do first? Or what would you follow up with? Or what actions would you take? So they give you a small snippet of a situation and then say, okay, tell me what you're going to do. And so they have 130 of those, and it is 3 hours long. So that's quite a bit. But each one is a scenario, and you'd have to say, no, what do you do? What technique would you use? What competency would you need here? And Kelly said, are there any practice exams to take to find out where you're at? We do have practice exams that do come with the purchase of a class or can be self purchased, I guess. They don't tell you where you're at, however. They will tell you if you're ready to take the exam, the actual exam, and as far as you're studying, but it won't do the hours for you. So depending on which angle you were going with that question. And I'll give you a tip, however, and we're coming up with that, is that we do have a template that you can capture all your hours that will help you document those, and then you can see how many hours you have as compared to the eligibility requirements. CBAP's been around the longest. That was their first certification. This one gets a little bit more, I'm sorry to say, complex. They give you a case study, and the case study is probably, well, they say 1 to 1.5 pages. I would say comparably maybe 3, 4 paragraphs. And then what you have to do is you have to read that case study. And then after that you read the case study, then they have 4 like scenario questions about the case study. Or they might have a simple question too, but it's like, okay, given the case study, what would you do? Or how would you calculate this? Or, which project, or I would say which recommendation would be the better recommendation, or whatever the question is. But all of them would have to do with the case study. So there is some scrolling. And I'll give you some hints about how to test with that as we move forward. Because of the scrolling, and you got to read more, they only put 120 questions together, but you do get another half hour, which is always kind of nice because it will take you some time. So there's going to be mostly case study questions, but however, they will filter in some scenario-based questions in there, so they won't all be case study based. But I probably would say that there's 4 or 5 case studies in there, and then the rest will be scenario questions. The nice thing, multiple choice, which is so much better than filling in the blank. And each one has 4 options, A, B, C, or D. And even if you don't know, select a guess, because a guess is at least 25% closer than you would have if you didn't answer it. So just a few tips now and then. This happens to be IIBA's business analysis framework, in which, if you're taking any of this, the CBAP, CCBA, or ECBA is based on. These are buckets, kind of buckets of things that a business analyst needs to do. So we need to analyze our business analysis. We do planning and monitoring. What activities do we need to plan for? How many elicitation sessions or interviews do we need to do? Do we need to do any shadowing? Do we need to build any models? Maybe we need to create a data model, process model, whatever. So that's the planning. And then elicitation, we have to elicit everything, whether it's eliciting understanding about the business problem we're trying to solve, if it's eliciting for requirements. We do a lot of elicitation, and then we collaborate with our stakeholders. So that's that bucket. And then once we get requirements, of course, we have to manage them. So this is the care and the feeding of the requirements throughout the project. And then this is kind of the three outer rings are kind of more support knowledge areas. They call them knowledge areas. And then the inner ring is kind of those core processes that you have to do. So strategy analysis is understanding what the problem is or the opportunity, doing current state versus future state, making a recommendation on how to get to future state. And requirements analysis and design is taking all those requirements that you did and documenting them and modeling them and understanding them and grouping them for ease of use. And then solution evaluation is kind of post-project work. So where strategy analysis was pre-project work, sometimes it happens before the project, before the business case is even written or the request is even made. And then it feeds into requirements analysis and design. So kind of pre-project work, unless it hasn't been done. And then you're going to have to do it during the project. Solution evaluation is saying, hey, did we get the value we thought we were going to get out of this? So if we're going to save, let's say we're going to increase productivity, we're going to save hours, we're going to save cost, we're going to increase revenue. Did we get that? And so the application and the solution has to have created so we can actually test it. Did we get the value we thought we were going to get? So that's just it in a nutshell. So why am I talking about this? Because it isn't a basic business analysis class, because it feeds into our exam blueprint. So for ECBA, and it tells you the number of exam questions here, because we said we had a total of 50. These are just the percentages if you want to know the percentage. But each one of these areas will be tested on. So you'll need to know them for everything back and forth. Now, ECBA adds a few more questions because they're basic knowledge-based questions. So they do ask some questions from, and each one of these 1, 2, 9, 10, these are chapters in the book. So they will have questions around business analysis in the BA professional, maybe a definition of what business analysis is. Certainly key concepts, what is a requirement? What are the different types of requirements might be asked? Underlying competencies, they'll have some questions around that, and techniques. The interesting thing I have to tell you is that there are 50, count them, 50 techniques in the BA book. They only ask you 8 or 9. So sometimes you're going to have to learn a little bit more than probably needed. But, there'll be basic, what technique would you use to elicit information from someone if you couldn't understand what they're saying or they couldn't articulate it? Well, maybe I do shadowing or observation. Okay, so basically you just need to know what the technique is called and what it does. Then you certainly have those core knowledge areas that I was just talking about. So you have 2 to 3 in business analysis, planning, monitoring, 10 in elicitation and collaboration, 10 in requirements lifecycle, 0. Now, here's the interesting thing. They used to have questions in strategy analysis and, as you note here, 0, 2, solution evaluation. They took them out because a lot of times when business analysts are first starting out, they don't start at that high level end, figuring out what the problem is, doing root cause analysis, doing current state to future state. They're mostly getting the more detailed requirements. And the same thing with solution evaluation. I'm just going to say no company does it very well yet. They're getting there. They're getting better. but actually evaluating to see if we got the value. So they took those questions out. The knowledge areas are still there, but the questions aren't. Now, here is the other thing for you people who are studying CCBA and CBAP, and this is really important. This is actually a blueprint from IIBA, and it says NA. So NA on chapter 1, 2, 9, and 10. So any of these, and some people and some of my students actually came to class saying, I took the exam and I failed because I didn't study the techniques. What they've done is, and the reason they're saying NA is because they're not specific to just techniques. They're about how you apply it. And most of the time when you apply it, you are applying it in a knowledge area, one of these 6 knowledge areas. So if you look at, let's say CCBA 42 in requirements analysis and design definition, that isn't just what the activities and tasks are in that section. That probably includes at least 25, 30 technique questions. So they've embedded these questions, techniques and competency questions, into the basic knowledge areas. And you can understand that if you're looking at a case study and it has 4 questions, one question could be around techniques, one question could be around competencies you'd use in that situation, one might be around some of the activities in the knowledge area. It could be a combination. So beware, especially if you self-study, which is just fine, make sure that you study for sure the techniques inside and out, because I know there's a lot of them. Underlying competencies is one of those chapters I think you can just peruse through because it just makes sense. You know, a competency, a good communicator. Well, we all know you wouldn't be here if you weren't good at communicating, because business analysis probably wouldn't be, your forte. So, they're just common sense. If you read them, you should be pretty good. And the 1 and 2, again, this will give you conceptual information that these questions might be based on. So it's nice to at least understand where are you coming from type thing. All right, so application steps for CBAP and CCBA. You're going to go to IIBA, iiba.org, download their certification handbooks, because they change from time to time and they don't always tell us either. So make sure you have the latest and greatest. Get your professional development hours. Again, I said if you take a certification class with us, it already provides it. But if you do something else, you're going to have some professional development hours before you can even finish your application. It has to be done. So they can't predate, oh, I'm going to take a class. That you can't do that. You have to have taken the class. Work history, make sure you have that. 2 references. And here's the thing about references. They need to have known you for 6 months. I know people, ask me in class, oh, can you be a reference? I can't. I'd love to, but unless I've known you for 6 months, I don't count. So it has to be either somebody who has their CCBA or CBAP, or a career manager, the one person who gives you your maybe annual review, or a client, if maybe you're a consultant and you don't have a manager, but one of your clients can be a reference. The interesting thing is that you have to give them 2 references, but they won't check it unless you've been audited. Your application is audited, so otherwise they won't bother them. And then this is really key, and you will get a copy of this recording with the slides. Go to watermarklearning.com/resources templates. The reason I tell you to do that is in there, you have an application worksheet. And it is really, I even did it. It's really helpful, because the thing is once you enter your information and it's like, oh, maybe you don't have time to enter it all, and then you go back the next day going, oh, I have to finish. It won't show you until you pay your fee what you put in. So it's like, God, did I put this project in or do I not? And then if you get duplicates, you may get audited. You don't want to do that. So whether you use our worksheet, our template or not, make sure that you log it first and then just be able to put it in. It makes life a lot easier. The application worksheet will also help you calculate how many hours. Did I get those 900 hours in those knowledge areas? And so it'll help you do that. And remember again to use your BA book as a guide, because That's what they want to look at, not what you think business analysis is what they think business analysis is, like testing. I'll give you an example. A lot of BAs do testing. You probably have been involved in UAT testing. They don't count that. That's not a BA thing. That's a tester hat, a QA hat. So this is where you have to be careful. Or project management. A lot of times we're project managers. I'm a project manager as well. Sometimes you do BA stuff too. Any of that project management, any of the tester information will be scratched off, and that will reduce your hours. So make sure you don't even put them in. Don't even go there. Just use the BOK as your guide. If it's not in the BOK, don't put them on. Then you pay once you get everything in. You got to pay for the application. And you can pay for it first too, and then log in your details. Sometimes people log in first and then pay. Agree to the code of conduct that you're going to be a good BA in terms, conditions, and submit. Then right away, it doesn't take very long. They will tell you whether you are approved or you will be audited. If you are audited, they will send you a note saying, here's the information we need. So make sure you have as much as possible. Now you have documentation on all your professional development hours and your work history, because they will probably ask that for you. So not everybody gets audited, but in case you do, you know what to do. And they'll get back to you within a month if you're going to be audited and tell you what you need to do. Once you're approved, yay, I'm approved, of course, and study. But review the exam rules and system requirements. They have a list there. Pay the fee. Again, if you pay with us, you will get, if you buy that 30% off bundle, you will get a code. So once you pay for that, we'll give you codes to put in for the application and the exam fee. So you get that 30% discount. Plus the fact you'll get IIB letting you know that you have a free membership. So then you log in, you schedule the date and time when you're most alert. Do it when you're most alert. I'm a morning person, so I take all, and I have a lot of them, but I take all my certifications in the morning, because if I by afternoon, by 2 o'clock is my waning time, and I'm kind of like, need to get revved up again. Or maybe in the evening and the kids are running around and going crazy. That's not a good time. Just do it when you have quiet time and you're most alert. Now, there is an option that you can take it. Most of the time, everybody takes it online, but you can go to a center. So if there's a center near you, so they use PSI. So if there's a PSI center near you, yes, you can go to the center, and obviously it'll be quiet. You don't have a lot of distractions. Otherwise, find a place where nobody, not the dog, the kids, or anything will disturb you, so you can take that, because it's an experience. And then you have 1 year to do that. You have 1 year to take it. So if you got approved, let's say January 5th, you got just approved today, then you have 1 year to be able to take your exam. Do not wait until the last week. I've had a couple of my students wait till last week, and then they're kind of scrambling. So sometimes life happens. Some things happened in her family that she wasn't able to do it earlier. Yeah, I realize that, but try not wait till the last moment, because then that adds to the, stress of taking the exam. So generally people study, and this is average, and I've been teaching this CBAP course, I don't know how many years, a lot, but generally 100 hours, 2 to 3 months. Now, I've had some people who take it in two weeks, but they had time off. That's all they did for 2 weeks, is study for the exam, and they made it fine. But you have to decide, what you have. Read the BA body of knowledge, at least twice. Go through it and skim it, and that also helps you figure out your hours. At least look at the table of contents when you do your hours to make sure they're in the right categories. But then you gotta read it. You gotta get a feel for how they're thinking, because even if you have 10 years of experience or more being a business analyst, I had, they still think of things a little bit differently. And so being able to get kind of putting yourselves in their shoes, because when they ask the questions, it's going to be how they see things, not how you really do it in real life. even when I'm teaching, it's like, it doesn't matter what Susan says because they're not going to teach that. It matters about how they perceive, you moving forward. You can supplement it if you take a class with us, you will get these. But if you don't, then you can purchase them online as well. So the study guide, study tables, which gives you a nice high overview of how everything fits together. That's kind of what I needed. One of my favorite tools. Flashcards, if you don't want to make your own, we have those. And then the best thing is online practice exams, practicing, practicing, practicing. Study one chapter at a time so you don't get so crazy. And then we have drill practices, and you can just, study a chapter, take practice questions, study a chapter, take practice questions. So it's not all or everything. And then you can actually take the full exam. So take the exam when you're ready. Again, that will be online. So for those of you, let's see if we have any others. Do we have an account with Watermark created to use? You would have to create an account with Watermark, but it's free. So it just means that then you have access to all our templates. Specialty, some of you are here for specialty certifications, so thank you for hanging in there. We have, in 2018, they came out with the Agile Analysis Certification, then the Business Data Analytics, then Cybersecurity, and then Product Ownership. Watermark has classes in AAC and CBDA, the first two. We don't have a class in cybersecurity, basically because they have partnered with IEEE, or not IEEE, IEEE, sorry, wrong E's. And they also have learning modules that you can purchase. So there's nothing we could really add to that they don't already have that they've worked with IEEE on. So we don't offer that. I'm just going to say that it does exist for some of you who are interested. And the certification in product ownership. This is for product owners, BAs as product owners or support product owners. We do not offer that at this time because we offer a lot of Agile certifications already, like, Scrum Master and Product Owner and Advanced Scrum Master and Advanced Product Owner and all those. So we haven't added that to the repertoire, but we do focus on these. And so the nice thing, again, eligibility, you don't have to have really any, except that it would be great if you had some Agile experience so that you knew what they were talking about, and you had some data analytics experience so they know what they're talking about. Here are the domains. They call them domains instead of knowledge areas. And they do have some guidebooks, so you can read the guidebooks to get up to speed. There's both scenario-based questions. So again, they'll give you a situation, a couple statements, a couple sentences, and then say, okay, what would you do? What would you use? Where would you be? What would be next? What technique would you use? Those types of questions. The Agile certification has 85 questions, and the CBDA only has 75, 2 hours for both. And the nice thing is this used to be all different, and it was just trying to get your head around it. But now they've taken the exam fees and made them all the same. So it's a lot easier doing the specialty certification instead of what's one for this and one for that. The other thing is, again, this applies for our 30% off bundle, even though it doesn't have a application fee to be reduced. But this amount can be reduced plus a free membership. So registering for the ECBA or specialty exams, again, download the handbook. Each one has a handbook. Pay the exam fee because you don't have to fill in any hours because there is no eligibility criteria. Agree to the code of conduct. You still have to be a good business analyst. Study and prepare. I would say that it doesn't take that long to study for these certifications. You probably maybe month max, 2 weeks. 2-3 weeks, depending on your experience level. Because if you're more experienced, of course, it's going to be a little bit easier for you. Then go on to PSI's online system once you paid for the exam, and then you schedule your exam and then get certified. Yay! All right, tips. 20 hours, 1 to 2 weeks. And again, sometimes people, it depends on how much you got going in your life. Read the corresponding guidebooks. Each one has a guidebook, so get a hold of those. And again, if you are a member, you can download them free off the IIBA website. Otherwise, you can purchase them. Again, you can go to watermarklearning.com. You can supplement with our study aids. And we also have practice questions. So if you score 70, 70 or so, you're probably pretty good to take the exam. So testing tips on all of them. Okay. One, don't dwell on a question, because if you dwell on it and you start all of a sudden say, oh my gosh, 20 minutes is up, if it's an hour exam, you don't have much left. And even if it's a 3.5 hour exam, you've wasted a lot of time. So if you need to mark them, because you can flag them, and then you can go back only to your flagged questions. So mark them, just skip them. When I first, well, this was a long time ago when they still had paper and pencil, believe it or not. They didn't have it automated or use a testing center at that time. But I went in there and I probably should have studied a little bit more, but I thought, oh my God, because I got to the first three questions and I put a mark by them to come back, because it's like, I don't know this. Oh my God, I'm gonna fail. But I marked him and then I go, oh, I know number 4. Okay. And because part of it was just stress. And so then I started getting some success. Oh, I know that, I know that, I know that. And then I came back and reviewed them and I go, oh, for Pete's sake, because you're starting to get in the groove again. So I skip them. What I do though, is I do something a little bit different. I mark them, but I answer them. So it's like going with your gut feel. It's like, I think it's C, but I'm not sure. C, D, C, D, C. I'm going to pick C. I just feel C. Sometimes you have to go with your gut and the right answer. And then I mark it though, so I can come back if I have time and say, okay, Susan, what were you thinking? It's really D. Or I might say, gosh, I'm still not sure. I'm just going to keep it C, because sometimes your first reaction is the best. So don't second guess yourself. At least if you can get it to 2, you got a 50-50 chance. And if you don't answer it at all, that's why I like answering them, even if I mark them flagged. The reason I answer them, if I don't have time, at least I have an answer. Because if I don't have an answer, if I haven't selected anything, it is wrong. So, sometimes you just have to guess. And unless you really know, Susan, what were you thinking? It's D. Don't change your answer, because so many times we change our right answers to wrong because we overthink. Don't overthink. And you have a time clock, so it'll tell you where it is. So specialty certifications, IIBA, read the question thoroughly, make sure you know what they're asking. Then read all the answers, A, B, C, and D. And if you can't, because you go, oh, it's A, B might have been a better answer, but you didn't get there. So read all the answers and then go back. This is what I do. I read the question, read all the answers, going, okay, now I know better what they're looking for. I'll go back and ask the questions like, okay, what are you asking for? And then select your final answer. It's just my habit. Read the question, read all the answers, and if you have to, go from the bottom up if you think that you're not going to read them all, and then go back to the question, because what are they really asking? Because sometimes they have some things that is just fluff you don't care about. Scenario question, same way. Read it, read all the answers, then review the question, see what they're looking for. CBAP, like I said, I usually skim. I skim the case study, then I read the question. Generally, I can answer it from the question after I read all the answers. But if I need to go back, then I go back to the case study. So those are just some testing tips. I have lots of resources here. Obviously, download any guidebook or the BA BOK as you need to. CBAP and CCBA, we have study tables, flashcards, of course, online questions, the study guide. ECBA, we have how to talk BA. It's kind of like a glossary of terms. Flashcards, study tables, AAC resources, the same thing. CBDA, we didn't do much resources. It's kind of a little different horse. So but we do have study exam questions. So it's always good. So we got the main things hit here. So recertification, let's say you all passed. Yay! If you got your CBAP or CCBA, you do need to recertify. 60 CDUs every 3 years. AAC, CBDA, 20 CDUs every year. I'm going to say this is kind of a pain. I wish they would have just said to 60 every 3 years, because I have both my CBAP, which I only have to renew every 3 years, but I have AAC and CBDA too, and that means I have to go in every year and fill those little puppies out, and of course, pay a fee. So it's kind of, if you can get into the rhythm, just know what will apply for your recertification. There's recertification handbooks. I would suggest downloading them so you know what counts and what doesn't count. And then be able to continually put them in because you don't want to, it's a pain if, because like me, I'll wait till the last minute. And CBAP, I don't. I do it every year because it's like, okay, I'm doing 20 a year so that I don't have to find 60, the week before my expiration date. And believe me, you do not want to take those exams again. Once you get through them, that's it. So, just put a healthy pattern in there, getting them in every so often. The nice thing is about these certifications, they carry over. So I might have taken a class on maybe data analytics. So that counts for my data analytics credits as well as CBAP, because maybe there was something around, business analysis. So it filled both. So the nice thing is you can, they'll have the listing of the domains and knowledge areas, and you just go, what did this webinar cover? And then you get sometimes two for one, three for one. ECBA, CCA, CPOA, there's no recertification credit. So once you're an ECBA, for those of you who are studying for that, you're ECBA for life, which is really kind of nice. And CCBA. So they might change CCA and CPOA, but right now they have it. So, and just in case you want to know if you are one of the group, this is a listing of the number of recipients that we have. So this is just hot off the press, December 31st. ECBA has skyrocketed. I mean, you look in just 3 years ago, basically. Well, we can go here 3 years ago. It's only 4,000. It's but over doubled. It's like taken off. CCBA, kind of slow a little bit. Almost have 20,000 though in CBAP, and that has almost, I don't know, what is that, kind of doubled from July 31st, 2020. I think that's kind of when we went into COVID, and now it's almost 20,000. I know it's not the million PMPs, but PMI has also been around for 60 years before IIBA did. And then we have specialty certifications, very hot, Agile. That's just really drastically gone up. It's over 2,000 now, which is amazing. I mean, that's quite a bit. CBDA, growing. I mean, it almost doubled too just in the last year. So that's getting some traction. And then CCA kind of growing a little bit slower, but the product ownership is going by leaps and bounds too, considering it only started in 2020. We didn't even have numbers there, so it's growing too. So just some fun facts. There's certainly benefits of certification. You all know this, or you wouldn't be here. Higher confidence, upskilling, helps find jobs. If you ever get laid off, it's like, well, I have a certification, because most people look for certification holders more than others. Most 92%, and this was actually based on the 2022 global state of affairs in business analysis. They do this annually. 2023 has not been out yet. And the other thing is that if you hold your CBAP certification, on the average, it's been reported, you get 25% more money, which is always kind of nice in the checkbook. And most people feel like they get their benefits pretty fast. Sometimes it's a matter of, I got to get my certification before I get my promotion, or, it just, or that I get that new job, or, and sometimes it's just a matter of just getting more confidence. So questions? Anyone with questions? I think I was kind of trying to monitor them while I was going through everything, but put it in the chat if you have a question. Oh, yes. Mariella, do you want to talk about sharing the slides and the recording?
Hey there. Yeah, absolutely. We will be sending over a recording of this session if you weren't able to attend the full session for sure. So be on the lookout for that. You'll get an email from us about that.
Any other questions? Can you provide the PDU code? Mariella, I guess you'll I'll give this to you too.
Hey there. Yeah, absolutely. So if I'm not mistaken, PDUs can be recorded on PMI's website. So I can go ahead and track down that link for you and I'll drop it. I'll drop it here on the chat.
And you can get if you're already a certified person, you can get CDUs for this too. Yes, if you're looking into another PDUs are for project management, CDUs are for business analysis. Are these certifications recognized industries wide? Yes. Once we pass the exam, do we add credentials? Yes, you do add credentials to your signature. So if let's see here. I think I had all my credentials. Let me look here. Let me just get out of here. Yep. See, you can just tack them on. You also get a badge. So I don't use my badges, but once you get your certification, you go to IIBA and you can download a badge if you're into the badges type thing. So there is that. Any other questions? These are good questions. All right, I don't see any more. I'm going to wish everybody a very happy new year, very successful, safe, healthy 2024 to everyone. And I hope to see you in some classes. And if you have any questions, here's my contact email. Um, and you can certainly reach out to us. So have a great 2024, everyone. Thank you for attending.
Absolutely. And again, go ahead and visit us at Watermark Learning if you have any other questions and be on the lookout for that recording.
All right, thanks,
Alrighty.
Mariella. Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.